We have a system at the school that we don't really talk about, but it's called edible pets. Because if there's a global financial meltdown and we have to cut back on some things, feeding that large hairy animal in your house 100 kilos of something so he produces 50 kilos of number 2 may not be the future, especially since nobody wants to eat him. At least the people in the house don't. We have every kind of animal that you can eat at the school. We also have every inch of the ground. There's a belief, and it's not widely held, but it's my belief. If you have land, if you have 5 square meters of land by your house, and you're not growing food, you're not necessarily a friend of the future. If you've got so much great organic food coming out of your local land that you own, no, you don't own it, because you can't take it with you. All you are is the shepherd of that land while you're here with us. And you need to grow food. You need to grow food. If you have so much food that you don't know what to do with it, you can give it to people that are hungry. I always go to Singapore and I'm amazed at the vision of this man. And I learned recently he was an Indonesian, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And how he planted, he went to England, I guess, and he saw the Queen's Garden and he said, I'm going to do that everywhere. And can you imagine what a different future there'd be if he had have planted fruit trees and vegetables? And today he wouldn't have to be worrying about paying those 10,000 gardeners to go around and trim the bushes. They'd just be going around picking organic fruit and vegetables. It's just one of the biggest luxuries on the planet is to be able to reach down and pick a piece of organic anything that you've grown and eat it. It's packed full of natural MSG, not the stuff that comes in the packet. And it's been a real challenge to build these gardens. And they're growing a lot of things that nobody knows how to eat anymore, and we have to find grandmothers, as I said, to teach. And we have rice fields right beside the kitchen, and we're growing old Bali rice, the heritage rice that was grown in Bali before the so-called green petrochemical revolution that we held here. And it's a wonderful thing to feed people good food that work with you and for you. And we cook everything on sawdust stoves. There's some debate, but there's about a 10 million year cycle on propane or natural gas or the gas that we have. And there's also some dispute, but I suspect we're going to burn it all off in 100 years. So the grandchildren will be asking that question of you. Grandpa, what did you do with the gas? So we don't have any gas in this kitchen. We're using exclusively sawdust, and where we can, we're using clay cooking utensils. This is the central fire in the kitchen. And this is the food. And I invite you now, because you may get bored and leave before I'm finished. You're all invited to lunch. Every one of you. We're feeding 250 people lunch. We hope in the future to be feeding 700 people lunch. And there's always room for one more. So come and visit us in Bali at Green School. This is the kitchen, the canteen. Looks a bit like Da Vinci's helicopter. And people ask me, who's the architect? And I don't want to piss you guys off because I know a lot of you are architects or friends of architects or wives of architects. We didn't have an architect. We had a master builder. His name is Indra. He's Balinese and he's the future of the planet. We have an incredibly intelligent young man from Switzerland and Florida who has the hand of an angel. We have some fabulous engineers that started building steel buildings out of bamboo, and we're very happy to meet us. But we don't really have an architect. This is the canteen after a party at night. Every light in the canteen is, I think, 2.5 watts. Some people think this canteen may take off one day, but I always check in the morning to see whether it's still there. Green power. This is another complete and total failure. I am still buying power from the power company. I'm still burning solar in a generator, and I'm really unhappy about it. But I'm not going to give up. We have a fabulous river coming through the campus, and it's not suited for conventional hydroelectric. You need 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meters drop, and we have 2.5. So we dug a little tunnel. I come from a country of tunnelers. The whole irrigation system in Bali is made with tunnels. And we put in a vortex. There's only one in the world. It's in Austria. It's been running for 4 or 5 years, and this is number 2. And when it fills with water and that water roars, it's absolutely something inspiring. And the plan is to put an egg beater, a turbine, and what it does to the water is beautiful. The water comes out the other side. It's absolutely dancing. This is the picture of the one from Austria. That's the turbine, and that's the German rendition of our vortex. And we will soon have the vortex running. It will produce about 8,000 watts, and it will take most of the school off the grid. The bridge. How do you build a bridge? And when the bridge guy came and told us what it was going to cost to build a bridge, we jumped in the river. So we built a model, and it was a beautiful model. Some people say we should just go into the model business because people buy ships that can't afford ships, and so we may go into the model business. But we built this beautiful model. We got some rocks out of the river, and you can see we haven't got those big cranes down there that you have up here. We built a railroad track up to the top of up to the edge of the river. We got the big stones up that became the footings, because we have this belief that bamboo should be sitting on stone footings. And we started building a bridge. It's 22 meters. People have said it's the most beautiful bridge ever built. It's probably the only covered bridge in Indonesia. And it's really inspiring. It was our first building, and it's built from black and white bamboo because we have been around Asia long enough to start to believe in things like yin and yang. So it's black and white. And it's a wonderful, wonderful bridge. It was, the engineering was done by our friend from Colombia, Germany via Colombia, named Jörg Strom. And the art was done by our Swiss artist, and I was in charge of the art direction. That's why it's so long. It's really the symbol of the school. We had a problem, though. A dragon that lives on the west side of the river was pissed off. So we had to build 3 temples and add several very funny bamboo symbols to each end of the bridge to appease the dragon, because he was causing a lot of problem locally. But since we put in those temples, we've had no more story from the dragon. There it is. Bamboo has to be covered. If you put bamboo out in your yard in 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, maybe with the air here in 6 months, it will start to deteriorate. But if bamboo buildings are covered, and that's why the roofs overhang as much as they do, they will last for a very long time. This bridge, the designer snuck his Jeep onto the bridge. He knew it wasn't supposed to be on the property, but he couldn't help but put his bridge on it to get this picture. We also point loaded it with 6 tons, and it only deformed 5 centimeters. We then had a party on the bridge, since we weren't going to use it for cars, and we had a nice time. The bridge is really the symbol of the school.